Guido coming at you with a tactics talk. Thanks for tuning in. A little bit different this time. I'm going to eventually get to the replay that was sent into me by kapri25, but right now you can see that I'm in garage and I've got his stats called up. As I usually do when I talk about stats, this has nothing to do with stat shaming or telling someone they're bad. This is simply looking at where this player is right now and talking about a few things they can work on. And I think it applies to all of us depending on what our skill level is. We can always try to improve as we go. So I've got them called up here. He sent me this. I'll use the pronoun he for lack of knowing who it might be. Could be a she. But a T29 replay was sent in, and I believe he is responding to my response to a forum post that he made asking for help. And he got a lot of good advice in there, and I said basically some of the same advice and a couple other things for him to think about. And said, hey, if you're looking for more help, my channel pretty much aims at the new to intermediate player like you, so why don't you, if you want, give it a look. And I guess he did, and he sent in the replay. So we'll get to the replay in a moment. Let's talk about the stats here just a minute for kapri25, who is a relatively new player, as you can see here, with 9,500 odd battles. He's running a 47% win rate, which is not bad at his level, actually, at 10,000. At 10,000 battles, somewhere around 10,000. Now, anyone above that who's still struggling, don't take this as gospel, but as a general idea, around 10,000 battles, your recents really should be moving north of the 50% line. Not your overall, because that's a lot of stuff to overcome, a lot of battles right now to overcome. But looking at your recents, you really should be running in the 50% or more range, somewhere around 10,000 battles. And of course, that some people get there quicker, some people take a little longer, but that's just a general ballpark thing. For the rest of it here, his hit ratio is very, very low. Now, when you are brand new, oftentimes your hit ratio can be low because you're playing the low tiers with the pew-pew guns. They're not very accurate, and they fire a lot of shots at once, the little auto cannons and the machine guns and all that stuff. So that can really skew your hit ratio. But that being said, 49% is incredibly low. So we have a problem there probably in our accuracy. And I'll tell you, when we get to it and look at the tiers that Capri has played, it looks like he should not have that low of a hit ratio. So something is going on there. Now, it can be a number of things. It can be an internet connection. If I recall, he may be playing out of Germany. Correct me down there below, Capri. That's what I recall from the forum. So that can be, to a large extent, a problem with ping, potentially. That can be a problem with your rig. If you have a low-end rig and a bad ping, you can have issues with stuttering and, of course, the ping issues with the lag and all of that kind of stuff. What that means, though, is you have to be extra careful with your shots. It can be a personal issue, depending on disabilities, things like that. Those are all things you just have to work around. But I will say that if at all possible, we need to get it above, obviously, a 50% hit ratio, and somewhere around 70 is what everybody should be aiming for. Taking into account, obviously, all the things it can be that are more or less out of your control, like I was just talking about. The things that are in your control about selecting good shots, about aiming, about using the zoom correctly, about knowing how to lead fire on moving targets, how to time shots, all that kind of thing is definitely in your control, and that's in your mind that you can handle, minus the physical disabilities anyone might have and that kind of thing. Average damage is low. This looks to me like one of the big problems here, and we'll talk about it when we get to the rest of the stats. The experience is at 236, which looks a lot like a standard account to me, but his stats are low enough that may be just what he's running. Capri, if you're running premium, realize that your average experience will go up a little bit there, because I don't think that takes into account, or I think it does take into account your using premium time right there. If I'm wrong, it's still a little low. All right, so let's go over to the statistics and break down this a little bit more for the general stuff. The victories, that's about where you want to be. Survived is extremely low, so there's another thing you need to work on, is living longer. Not necessarily having a aim at, hey, I want to raise my survival to 50%, so I go hide in corners. That's just chasing a stat. But you want to last longer in the battle, and that's something I talk about a lot. The longer you last in the battle, the more shots you take, the more damage you do, the more effect you have at the end of the battle for the win. That all pretty much rolls in together. Hits I already discussed. Damage ratios at 5.6. All right, man. What this means is that you've caused 2,282,000 damage, but you have received 4 million. So you are doing less than the enemy is doing to you, and that is one of the biggest issues that new players will have. You really want that at 1, north of 1, ideally, but right now striving to do as much damage to the enemy as you take from the enemy. And that's actually a fairly easy goal. All right, it will take some work when you're a new player. It's not going to just happen. So for some people it does, but for most it doesn't. But 1 is not out of the realm of possibility to get there fairly quickly. Same thing with the destruction ratio. You'll see that you've destroyed 4 million vehicles, but you've been, sorry, 4,000, not 4 million. Math in public is hard. You've destroyed 4,000 and you've been destroyed 7,000 times. Again, that needs to be at a 1-to-1 ratio, which means at 1.0, for every time you die, you're killing a vehicle. Armor use, don't worry about that too much. It depends on the vehicle that you're running. 0.31 is pretty good. That indicates to me that you like running relatively heavily armored vehicles and can get some bounces in there. Base capture points, now this is very interesting right here. Base capture points, 5,600. Base defense points, 3,495. In general, what that indicates to me is you are, when you win a flank, driving to the cap and trying to sit on it. More than you are winning a flank and going back and defending your own flank. I talk about that a lot. One of the biggest keys of this game is positioning. One of the largest muscle movement positioning ideas to have in your head is when you win a flank, if you automatically turned around and went back to your cap, you would improve your win rate immediately without even thinking about the actual situation. And as a general rule, turning around immediately and going back to your cap is the right decision more than going to the enemy cap. That doesn't mean that there aren't plenty of reasons to go to the enemy cap or maybe come across the middle of the map or to reposition somewhere that's not their cap but not your cap. Those are all the master's level kind of ideas. But if you simply win your flank, turn your tank around and go back, regardless of how slow your tank is, I guarantee you will improve your win rate right off the bat. And then, guess what? You'll stay alive longer, you'll win a little bit more, and then you can start to incorporate the idea of, all right, I won my flank. Do I need to go to the enemy cap, or should I go back to my cap? Leaning to your cap, but also understanding that there are reasons why I would go to the enemy cap. But right now it looks to me like you're winning a flank and just trundling on to the cap. There's a lot more to that discussion. If you watch my videos, I will discuss it as we go, but I just want to throw that out as a general idea for you right now. We hit up the experience. There's the damage and the damage received. You can see those numbers. Lower damage caused, higher damage average received. Your assistance is okay at this level. Enemy vehicle spotted that's okay, I guess. Sometimes if you see a very high enemy vehicle spotted, it means people are rushing out and dying forward, and because your battle survived is so low, that might be part of the problem. You're getting up front and getting killed quickly. Rest of these are not a big deal. Let's just look at one last thing before we get to the replay. Is we will look at the infographics here, because what this tells me is I think you're doing it right as far as your tier selection and what you're doing as far as getting better at this game. Right now you are spending most of your time at 4, 5, and 6, and I think that's exactly where you need to be. 7 is pretty good, because somewhere around 7 you really start to see that higher tier gameplay. Tiers 1, 2, and 3 are just a rage fest. People are going in every direction. There's seal clubbers down there. It's a mess. But you got to get through it to get to 4, 5, and 6. At 4, especially at 5 and 6, you start to see the actual meta of the game at 5 and 6 start to develop. And then at 7, you start to see the no kidding end tier meta stuff start to develop that you're going to deal with at 8, 9, and 10. But for learning the basic meta of the game, 5 and 6 for new players is really the place to be. There's enough bad players and new players in there that you won't get just completely stomped all the time, but there's enough good players down there that will help you understand the meta based on the way they position and how they play the game. So I think you're doing that right as far as that goes. All right, let's get to the T29 replay, and we'll talk about some specifics of that. Well, here we have Capri's in his T29. He's on proc, top tier, and a 3.57. This is a great setup for a T29. He's running the 105. He's got a repair kit, med kit, and manual fire extinguisher. Capri, I would put an automatic fire extinguisher in every tank you're going to use a fire extinguisher in. Why? You might say, well, it's 20,000, I can't afford it. The thing about the fire extinguisher that's different from the other two, actually that's not true, I think the other two also decrease the possibility, but in any event, what the large fire extinguisher, the automatic one, does is two things. Number one, it makes the fires less likely. So right off the bat, you're going to have a savings for less fires. What do fires do? They destroy modules and hit points and cost you more in repair, not only for getting the fire extinguisher back, but also repairing the items that got damaged while the fire was going on. The automatic one minimizes that to where you basically only lose a few hit points. Unknown if it can actually lose modules, but you have less fires. It automatically fixes or stops the fire, so you have less damage that you pay for, and over time it's actually cheaper to run automatic fire extinguishers. That's just how it works, man. So put those on any tank you're going to use. I like your positioning right here. This is a good idea. This tank is a beast hold down. The thing you need to watch out for is that big crowd of people over there on the 5-6 line. So let's talk about positioning on proc. The other team has actually done a pretty nice job of it. They've got some spotters up here. They've got a bunch of guns down here who's going to sweep fire across the side of this hill. You're in this little bit of a depression. I actually like to be a little further over where the 64 is. Even though you're slightly higher, as you back down, you get into this little dip, and you can protect yourself from shots getting shot into the side by the Reds that are sitting down here on the 5-6 line. The T34 is a problem. He needs to go first. What I would have done here is immediately driven up and whacked him and made him go away, because as long as he's spotting you, and he will every time you crest, or even via proxy if you're close enough, you're going to take fire from these guys down here. That's one of those priority target decisions. As you get better at the game, you're going to have to start making them very quickly, because if I got up to this hill and saw this, I'd immediately had to get rid of that T34. He's got to go. And because this thing is such a hold down beast with great depression, you really didn't have to come up much further to get a shot on that guy. Back to the further positioning. Again, this is a great spot right here. You can clean off this hill and move on. But let's talk about the rest of the positioning as it goes, because it's one thing to go to a good initial position for the map, your tank, and your team. It's another thing to transition to the right moves after that once you win that spot. So let's see what happens here. So you declined to go after the 34, I assume because he was down below there. Maybe didn't want to expose yourself. So that's a good idea. And there's that Churchill taking a shot at you. And shift our armor a little bit. Taking a look, and you can't see him. So you go dark. The 1S is getting rocked. Looking around, there we go. Got a nice shot on the 01. The 1S dies. See how he gets up there in the flat, gets seen, and gets taken down. So now that 34 is not spotting you, you can use these bushes right here. You got lots of targets. Bounce off the KV-1, unfortunately. The AT-8 is coming in. Looking for a shot on him. Not really sure what you're looking for. You might be looking for green, but the lower plate was the shot you wanted on that AT-8. You could have gone after that top turret, but that's hard to do as it's moving, especially. I think that Churchill was actually shooting at the guy to your left. And that's something you have to watch out for on this particular space. You have to always watch out for it in the game. But if you're the closest guy to the enemy, you end up being a shield for the guys who get spotted. I don't think you were spotted when you got hit. You were after you fired, probably. Okay, so it looks like we're doing a pretty good job. We have an 01. There goes a KV-1. And he's going to go ahead and push. Their KV-1 is in the back there. That's a nice shot. We take him down. KV-1 moves in, and you back up. This is where the next move decision is critical for you on getting some more hit points. I won't say it's critical to winning the game, because you have one on every flank on this. But the question is, with the amount of tanks they have left, it looks like there's one here, and the others are stacked up here, and then there's an arty. There might be one unaccounted for. I'm not sure in that stack down there. Where are you going to go for the next hit points? You need to get rid of the 01, because he's the one going to spot you up on this hill and give these guys down here shots. The KV-1's already moving in that direction. So why not just follow up with the KV-1, walk all over that 01, and then we can slide down here to this railroad track and start working these guys that are hiding. The problem with hanging out here the KB1 is going to get shot up here in a minute and die, and you haven't cleaned out the O1, which means now you're still stuck behind this bush and you've got all these guys down here. The good news is your team's moving up, and pretty soon these folks will be threatened by the west flank over here. But there's no real reason, based on how many they have left and how many you have left, for you to hang out right here. Just go get the hit points from the O1. See, the 3001 gets hit by the T1 heavy. KB1's trying to get in there, and it looks like you make that decision, and here we go. And then you get, oh, there's somebody to shoot at. You kind of look over here and lose focus, and then you come back over here, and now we're sort of sitting down in this hole. You can see that your team is pushing up in there. Then you push up towards the O1. And we have a 3001 appear. So this is minimap awareness right here. It takes you quite a long time to notice this guy. I had to stop immediately, turn, put my front armor to him, and start shooting that guy. And you kind of do. Oh, there's someone over there. A shot on him, he dies, and then the automatic backup. There's the Tiger. There you go. That's what you need to do there. Now, I talked a little bit about FPS and ping early on, if that's a problem. That doesn't seem to be an issue for you, from what I can tell, as far as lag goes and the FPS of your recording. Everything seems decent. And this is just target priority right here. So you got two problems. Number one is the O1 sitting in front of you, but he's not a huge problem. Your biggest problem right now is the Tiger sitting down here, and he's lit, so there's really no reason for you to not be aiming at this guy and taking him out. He's at 579, a couple hits, he's down. Good idea putting the KB1 right there. That gives you some armor, and I'd have done that myself, but I would have used it to spin my hull a little bit towards the Tiger and take a shot at him. Minding the O1 right there is probably going to try to come up and get a blap on you if the Tiger's still spotting you, which guess what? He's not at this point. So you have free shots on that Tiger 1 all day. Would have been easily another 300 damage. The O1's trying to spot you. And down goes the Tiger. But you could have definitely got some of those hit points. The O1 takes some hits. Now he's getting rocked. And it's all over, but the shouting will continue down this because this is always a fun thing right here. We charge the M44, he stuns and blaps us, and we do God's work, smashing the artillery with our big T29. Nice job right there, man. So not a bad game, 1,947, 391 spotting. I liked your initial positioning, it was good. You used the hole down in the bushes pretty well for someone at your level of the game. I think a little hesitant on a couple decisions as far as pushing in there and taking out the guys on the back of the hill, and also sort of missing some opportunities to shoot guys that are lit on the map. And that's a mini-map essay and awareness kind of thing that comes over time. You just got to keep working at it, and you'll be able to cross-check down to your mini-map and notice that there's lit tanks you probably have shots on. A lot of that is also map awareness and understanding the maps, the positions of where tanks can be, and knowing that, for example, if I'm up on that hill and somebody is on the red cap, I definitely have a line of sight shot on those guys. Just as one example of, I don't know, thousands or tens of thousands. Well, all right, man. Welcome to the YouTube channel. Thanks for sending this in. Feel free to send any more in, and we'll take a look at them. I hope this helped out your game. Let me know if it did. For everybody else, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you.